Welcome back to BJJ Panda Journey's Stories from the Mat. I'm Nick.
I'm Vic.
And today we have with us a guest who is actually another podcaster who we met through a podcast forum where we do like a guest connections thing. So anybody who is part of the group just puts out, hey, this is, what I'm looking for a guest. And other people can say, hey, I'm willing to be a guest. And this is, kind of what the things that I specialize in and talk about. So we met through that. He messaged me and said, hey, I'd love to be on the podcast if it's something you're cool with. And then as most people on that listen to the show regularly know, life got crazy. So had lots of stuff going on. So it's been a couple minutes, but super happy to announce that we have Drew. Hey, Drew, how you doing?
I'm good. And again, we was talking off mic about how I was poking and prodding you and bothering you. And you was like, man, just give me a couple of weeks. So I was like, okay, now it's now okay? It's now okay? I was like, I felt like a fiend, but I legitimately really wanted to be on because and I'll get into the story later, but I think Jiu Jitsu has helped me a lot in my life in only the 7 or 8 months I've been doing it. And I really wanted to share that story and listen to your podcast is like stories of success, failures, and all that good stuff. So it really kind of aligned with what I want to do with my podcast, what I want to do as a person. And also I really enjoyed the stories that I was hearing. So I wanted to be a part. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome. So we have our new board. So we're welcoming Drew officially. So I have to. Yeah. So, Drew, typically we start with height, age, weight, rank, all those fun things. You want to run us through those real quick?
I am 5'7" on a good day. Weight 170 right now. I'm a big boy right now. I've been getting that pandemic 30, but it's been more like 25-ish. I
like the big boy comment at 170.
I am for my height. I think I feel like a big boy, but anyway,
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And my belt rank, I am a white belt. I just got my first stripe a couple of months ago, and just kind of working on that. Yeah.
How when you talk to people that don't necessarily aren't part of the community, and you say, yeah, I've been doing this thing for like almost a year. You're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, what belt are you? What rank are you? And you're like, white belt. Mm-hmm. For me, because it was like a solid 2.5 years where you're talking to people and you get super excited about it, right? I talk about jiu-jitsu all the time. And they're like, oh, you're a white belt. Because people kind of expect that, after a couple of years, you're a black belt. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. You experience that too?
1000%. Definitely being a young black male and not seeing a lot of people that look at me in the community. It's like talking to some people is like talking Greek. It's like, oh yeah, I was looking at this video online and I was kind of trying to learn how to get a Kimura from half guard, and they're like, what the what are you what are you talking about? So a lot of the times I try to explain it more like, okay, it's kind of like basketball. It's like now I'm shooting free throws and I'm hitting the rim, and just kind of try to like take the idea, because I love so many other different sports and I love so many different sports. So I try to take the idea or the analogy and connect it to something that they're interested in. But a lot of the time it's like, you're still a white belt? Jesus, man. How much money have you been spending?
So I was a yellow belt, like a good majority of middle school and high school. I was a yellow belt. I was probably a yellow belt 3-4 years, and everyone was like, dude, they always thought it was karate, and I was a yellow belt for the longest time. They're like, dude, when are you going to be
what is yellow belt rank in karate? Do you know?
No idea.
Yeah, so at least you had color. Like I walked around as a white belt for like dude, 2.5
listen,
years.
Man, I was I was a yellow belt for like 3-4 years. Each year I got a new stripe. I was like, man, they're really treating me like an adult, huh?
It's tough, especially if you start young. I think so. I have 5-year-old, 6 now. She started when she was 3.5. So like she's gonna sit at some belts for a minute, not necessarily for any reason other than the fact she can't really go any higher. And yellow belt's gonna be one of those where you're at the cap, right? That's the top. So Drew, before we get too far into it, because I know a lot of people listen to 3/4 or 9/10 or 7/16 of the podcast. So before we get too far in, you have a podcast. If you want to take just a minute and kind of talk about that.
Oh, sure. My podcast is Drew vs. World, a podcast which each Monday I have people who are world changers. And what I like to do is get their story and allow them to share their success and their failures. And through that, allow my audience to become world changers themselves. So tune in every Monday, nice and fresh on anywhere you're listening to this. Also, if you want to, listen or find me anywhere, go to drewversustheworld.com or follow me on Drew vs. World podcast on Instagram.
Awesome. Very cool. That sounds like a really good
Yeah.
premise too. I like that a lot.
Cool concept.
That's pretty
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
Changing the world is something I think we all strive for. If it's through jiu-jitsu, my wife started the gi company to help women, right, and make rolling more comfortable for women. So anyway, I think any impact you can have on either other people in any way, right, I think is important. So part of what jiu-jitsu is about.
Yeah.
So speaking of, let's get into jiu-jitsu. So how did you get started on your jiu-jitsu journey?
Like everybody, Joe Rogan, right?
I'm not gonna lie, Joe Rogan has really helped like the sport of jiu-jitsu overall, because even when new members come into the gym, I'm like, what pulled you guys in? Like, what finally got you wanting to like step through the door? They're like, oh yeah, I'm a big JRE fan, and I just like seeing Joe Rogan kick butt, so I want to do the same thing.
I want to be like Joe Rogan. See, so this is the difference between this generation and my generation. My generation was Karate Kid. Like the movie Karate Kid, like everybody wanted to learn how to be a badass and like do the crane kick and sweep the leg. No matter what side of that equation you were on, you needed to learn karate. And now I feel like it's all Joe Rogan.
Well, no, for me, it wasn't. For me, it was watching like the early UFC days with my dad.
That's the intermediary, right? Like you got the 80s, 90s kids that were all like Karate Kid. Then you've got like the
early mid 2000s where it's just like
UFC,
just UFC, like all those guys, Frank Mir, Brock Lesnar. Like I remember watching it, I was like, man, this stuff is cool.
If I took steroids, I could look just like Brock.
You should.
I'm pretty sure.
I think that'd be cool.
You need Viking jeans. You need Viking jeans. You need like one of those big horn hats. Like you need a bunch of things.
Dude, have you seen Brock's hair now? Like,
no.
Dude,
he has hair still?
Yeah, I'll pull up a picture real quick.
He's Viking. He's of Viking descent.
See, so like, there's a guy in the UFC. Wow, what's his name? Joubert.
Yeah, Joubert.
What's his name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, his nickname is Joubert, and he's I don't know if he's Russian, Ukrainian, somewhere in that whole messed up area right now. But he looks just like me if I was actually in shape. We have the same beard, we have the same haircut, we even have like tattoos in the same places. Like he is my spirit animal. So Brock's cool.
Everybody always says everybody has a doppelganger. But to your question, Joe Rogan definitely got me into it. I was the only reason I got into podcasting, or the only reason I got into podcasting in general, was because of Joe Rogan. Let's take this back 10 years, I was working at JP Morgan, but I also had a side gig at Kohl's, and I used to work the late shift at Kohl's. And the only thing you can do is listen to music, because I was packing shelves or taking things off of the truck. So I was like, okay, I've went through all the Jay-Z albums I could. Now it's time for me to explore something different. So I started with The Nerdist, because I'm also a big pop culture nerd. So when Karate Kid's right in my like wheelhouse, all different versions, Daniel Son, all that good stuff. But I started listening to that, and then it kind of like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I was like, okay, now listen to this person. He was on the podcast. Now listen to this person. Now listen to this person. And then I ended up with Joe Rogan. I'm like, okay, this is where I need to be. It's long form. It can, he has like a realm of different things that I've never experienced in my life. So I'm like, okay. And then he just started keep on talking about jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, let me just look into this, because growing up, I was into, and this is how I learned. There's no martial arts for me. I didn't have Tiger Showmans. I didn't have all that stuff. It was really, I call it hood boxing, right? So hood boxing was, we used to have this corner, like this alleyway. It was a one-way alleyway. So there was nothing, like, it's a dead end alleyway, one way in, one way out. And all we used to have this old dude, he was probably had to be in his 60s, jacked. He must have been like an old boxer or something like that. And he used to just like train us in this like dead end street, and we used to just beat on each other. And I remember there was one fight I had very vividly. I remember it was this older dude. His name was Quentin. And we went down that block because he was trying me on something, and we just like went at it, like beat the crap out of each other for at least and if you ever fought, like really like fought, I would say for 5 minutes, but 5 minutes feels like forever if you're fighting, right? Yeah. So we're like beating on each other, like, and then I just kind of always took up to ground and pound. So my thing was like, I'm going to suffocate you with my body. And I didn't learn anything about wrestling, but it was kind of like wrestling, but it was, I'm going to suffocate you with my body. I'm going to get to, and I'm just going to ground and pound you until you either bleed, pass out, or you just say no more. So moving to that, I was like, okay, I know some kind of quote unquote martial arts, which is hood boxing. So let me try to get into
you know the martial part, not necessarily the art.
So I went into when I moved back to Charlotte, North Carolina, after, because I went to here for school, and I was just looking at things. I was like, okay, let me just look at some BJJ class, because I was like, I had enough of Joe Rogan talking about it. I'm at least try this nonsense. He's led me down so many directions with like physical fitness. I was like, let me just try this. And let's
go back real quick before we go too far.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you originally from?
Originally from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Okay. So from New York, and then you moved to, you said North Carolina?
Yep. So I moved to North Carolina for school, went here for school for 4 years, then moved to Ohio for another 4 years, and then came back, and I've been living in Charlotte for probably 6 or 7 years now.
No, whereabouts in Ohio?
Columbus, Ohio, over there, right there by Ohio State. So I used to live in Polaris, and then I lived in Easton. I live in Polaris and Easton. Those are my two places. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we're in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So we're.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Columbus isn't too far.
Yeah.
So I'm so sorry for the Super Bowl. So sorry.
That's all right. I'm not from this area at all.
Okay.
So for all my Cincinnati-based podcast fans, I love you all. I'm happy for you, for the Bengals. That's great. I'm from Boston. Like we dominated the sports world for.
Yikes. So
no, don't worry.
StreamYard off.
The Bengals are going to be back.
I mean, they might, because what happened was when I moved to Boston from upstate New York, I moved from Boston, and they kind of sucked. And all of a sudden, like literally the year after we moved, the Red Sox went to the World Series.
Wow!
And it was the following year that the dynasty that is the Patriots happened. And in there, even though everybody hates hockey, I love hockey. The Bruins went to the Stanley Cup. I think it was like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I don't.
It was just
I don't think people hate on hockey.
They just nobody likes it unless you're from Canada.
I don't know. I like hockey.
I love hockey.
Dude, Kelsey got me into hockey.
See, I love hockey.
Dude,
a live hockey game is amazing. One of those it's kind of like ice soccer. It's like never stops. There's like
better because you can actually body check people.
Exactly.
I like watching the fights.
I actually had the opportunity to I worked for TD Bank, TD Garden, and I got to sit in like a really cool seat once at a Bruins game. Yeah, it's one of those like you do this once in your life kind of things.
Yeah.
And it's right in between the players' benches and the away benches.
That's badass.
So you're sitting right in the middle.
That's perfect.
It was so cool. And we got to see a fight right in front of us.
Did you yell at him?
Oh yeah, they ignore you completely. I tapped in the glass, everything. Like you get yelled at and stuff. Yeah, you get locked into this room. You're not allowed to leave. So they tell you like go to the bathroom before we put you in here because you're here for a period. And if you got to pee,
really, you
your
can't
ass out.
You can't tinkle or
can't do anything.
Or nothing?
Nothing for a whole period,
Why?
And then you get out.
Why?
Like security guard has to come and let you out, and they gotta like it's a key.
What if it's an emergency?
You're peeing in the corner, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, nothing. You can't move.
They won't let you out. So you telling me they're gonna make me dookie on the floor before they let me out?
I mean, listen. I've seen this boy play with Neon Belly, and he looks at you and says, "Careful, I gotta poop." And he will. He'll go like 5 rounds and not poop. So I know you can hold it for at least
you're right.
the 20 minutes it is a period. So you'll be all right.
That's very fair.
But yeah, so I saw a fight break out right in front of me, and that was super cool. I have it on video.
That is awesome.
So anyway, so you moved back from So I always get North Carolina and South Carolina mixed up. I'm
Me
so
too.
bad at that.
They're same, but
They really should. Like New York
No.
City needs to break off. Upstate New York needs to become its own state.
I've been saying that for years.
I'm telling you. So I'm from Syracuse.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that needs to happen. And then the Dakotas
yeah,
and the Carolinas just need to.
Mhm.
they just
figure
need
it
to
out.
combine.
Yeah.
Like I
figure it out.
think why have 50 states when like some of them are just split in half?
Agreed. And West
Like,
Virginia.
honestly, if
exactly.
we're going to combine, we have to break up Texas then. Break up Texas, and we have to break
and
up
California.
So it'll even out. I think it'll even out because
Has to be 50. Like we don't want to screw with the flag and all that. That's just too work.
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we should combine these.
No, I
these
feel like
apart.
with California, I feel like we could get away with splitting it. Texas, though, I don't think.
Oh, you could definitely do that. You got Northern
Dallas-
Texas, Southern Texas,
Dallas is completely different
then
than
Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
it's completely
100%.
different. And that's different than Houston. So it's like you definitely could break those territories apart.
Yep.
And just
North,
be a-
West, East, and
Boys,
South.
I think we
Yeah.
just fixed the entire U.S.
Yeah.
geography issues.
boom.
One podcast done.
You're welcome.
Changing the environment.
Drew,
All right, so let's go. Drew changes the world. He does. So let's go back to so you're back in New York now, and you're beating up fellas in the alley. And you're listening to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's like, hey, this is some kind of cool shit that put some art behind some of the martial that you've been doing.
So I came to Charlotte, and my first thing was, hey, let me just try to do this. And me and my friend found a who'll be my best man at my wedding. But me and him found this gym, and it was just like, hey, start 2 weeks for free. I was like, okay, it can't be bad. So we went there, and they were teaching us a lot. And no, first I went to this one class by myself, and then I went to so I kept on trying to get into it, but didn't have the time. Honestly, I did have the time. I just wanted to drink and run around with girls, or then I wanted to do jiu-jitsu. So I kept on going back to those 2 week rotationals. Like, okay, I'll do one class here, and trying to find a home. And after this 2 stints, I kind of took it off, and I was like, okay, so me and my fiance moved in, and I was working at this one company, the solar financial company, and this one guy there, he just like, me and him just got real cool. And I was the tech guy, and it was a small company, so he was more of the business guy. And he was just saying, hey, yeah, I have a jiu-jitsu gym. I was like, oh, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. It was just like one of his fun facts that when we was kind of all talking to one another, I was like, oh, tell me more about it. So he told me more about it, and I got really intrigued. And I kept on saying to him, I was like, man, I'm going to be there next week. I'm going to be there next week. And like a year goes by, 2 years goes by.
How many times have you heard that?
We've heard that a lot, especially from my dad. And,
last night, as a matter of
yeah,
fact.
literally. So every time that comes up from now on, we just have to call him out. So yeah, Dad, if you're listening to this, your son now outranks you.
And your boy is getting close. I'm coming after that purple belt.
Well, listen, you guys will be the same rank, all right? You guys won't.
Yeah, but I feel like because he hadn't done it in like 20 years, that gives me an edge.
A small one, yeah. But he trained in Brazil.
After my first stripe, then I'll beat him.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do stripes.
Well, I know that's kind of where I'm at. I'm 2 stripes. He has no stripes on his perp.
All right. So if you're sitting there saying to yourself, I'm gonna go, stop it and just go.
Yeah, stop making excuses.
Take one night and not drink and party and
go also
do jiu-jitsu.
my coworker Austin, dude, stop telling me you're gonna get in shape first. All right?
That is the lamest excuse.
Yeah.
Listen, I was 300 pounds. Like I was a lot. How
much is 300?
It must have been at least 300 pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and say. I was probably somewhere in like the 350, 380 range. Like it was big boy time.
Yeah, I remember. I think.
He said, "I remember."
Yeah. Oh, no. So the only memory I have of Nick before COVID, and this is around the time he first started. We were doing positional sparring from guard, and he's just big white belt, and I hit him with an omoplata. Like I tried for a triangle and he's just heavy, couldn't get the triangle.
I mean, he's been trying for a triangle for that long.
Switch to the omoplata, and then I got it, and I hear Mike Little in the corner. Oh, nice transition, Vic. You got a white belt
against a white belt that has no athletic capability whatsoever.
I was like, thanks, Mike.
Just big, strong guy. Big being the operative word there. But yeah, don't worry. Don't wait to get in shape to go do this sport.
Mm-hmm.
This sport will put you in shape.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to a guy on Facebook last night. He's talking about what size gi he should get, and I said, you know what? Don't spend any money. He's about I think he was 350, 355, and 6'3". I said, well, I don't know what your body composition is, but if you're not all muscle and athletic, dude, just buy the cheapest gi you can find it big. You're gonna grow out of it, or shrink out of it real quick, and you drop down, then you kind of settle on whatever you're gonna be for a minute. So.
Yeah, after my first week of rolling, I lost like at least 3 pounds. So
dude,
easily.
That's crazy. Like I was on the very tiny end when I started jiu-jitsu. By time, I mean for my age, I was big, but I was 150 when I started jiu-jitsu. So fitting in the A1s,
But he was 11, so he should have been like in an M00 or something.
And then, I get to high school, I'm still skinny. I could eat whatever I want. And the next thing you know, like I didn't realize it. I was still eating just like shit. I was eating whatever I wanted. Bam, I'm 260 pounds.
There we go.
And then next thing you know, I'm like an A3 and A4. And I'm like, man, it's hard to roll. I look at my belly.
Welcome to the party, sir. Welcome to the party.
I know, but
buddy.
But next thing you know, I lost all that weight. All my gis got really big and baggy on me. Now I fit into an A2. I'm 180.
So now I had to get new BJJ Panda gis, obviously.
Okay. Oh, of course.
I got his logo bounced up on one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool.
That's what's up.
All right. So you're saying I'm going to go. You don't go.
Mm-hmm. And then I finally got my life into order where I have 2 children. I have a fiance. I was like, okay, it's a perfect time to get out the house. So I was like, let me try to find something to do. And it was a perfect timing. During COVID, I wanted to do jiu-jitsu, which is like that most anti-mask, anti-COVID thing to do. You're literally in somebody's face. And as their nuts are crushing your shoulder. Yeah, exactly. Like he's
our gym at first tried the whole wearing a mask. It was awful.
Did you try any of that nonsense? Wearing a mask?
No. It's the most. It's the jiu-jitsu thing is more intimate than me kissing my fiance. It's very like you get like I remember the first week I was there where somebody was mounting me. I'm like,
you get real close. You get really close with the homies. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm pretty sure I know Vic better than his girlfriend does.
Yeah. Honestly, he's probably not wrong.
We got a picture. Vic and I were at team training and we were doing leg locks. We were 50-50.
Yeah, and like, dude, I love jiu-jitsu, but there's some where it's like, dude, we're just scissoring.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, like.
It was for sure weird.
I was like, buy me dinner first at least.
Yeah,
Jesus,
I know.
But so he finally has this thing. I think it was either 2 months or a month for free, and you get a note for like one something. It was a price, and then you get a free gi. And I was like, oh shit, okay, that's perfect incentive for me. I love free stuff. So I just went. I was like, okay, let me just get on the mat and just work through things. And a lot of people come with a preconceived notion of what things were, because even through Joe Rogan, he's like, oh yeah, it's going to be so hard, so difficult. You're going to have to really, use your mental faculties. All I came with was like, hey, I'm here to learn as much as possible. Like I don't have, like, again, I have hood, martial, not arts. and it was just like, I have no preconceived, just teach me. And the previous teachers I had from the different like 2-week rotation I was doing, I didn't retain a lot. So I was just literally learning from scratch, and was literally some of the best times I've had. They call me the Joker at at the gym a lot, just because every time I'm doing something, I'm just laughing like the whole time, because I'm having a great time, even though I'm getting choked the hell out. Like
I went through that period too where I just giggled through everything.
Yeah.
Like someone would put me in side control or, be choking the living snot out of me. And I'm just there giggling, laughing,
because it's like, and after that, I'm kind of more or less, I'm like, man, how the hell did you get me in that? And then he's breaking it down. It's like, yeah, you put your arms out too far. So I just did that. I mean, it automatically happened. Or, number one white belt problem is like, put your arms out. And then arm bars all day, every day. Like I was just getting destroyed by arm bars. And I was like, why the hell? He was like, listen, don't put your arms out. And then it just immediately changed because I was a sponge. I'm literally a sponge to this thing. and I'm really, really enjoying it. So that's how I kind of got into jiu-jitsu. It
That's
was like
awesome.
through times of me just trying to figure it out, then settling down in my life, then figuring out like, hey, this is something I really want to try to approach, and actually having somebody. It was kind of like it was a sign that somebody in at my job was a practitioner, owned a gym, and is my size, no, smaller than me. And that was one thing that it's funny. Joe Rogan said is that you want to learn from somebody who's small because they have to be more technical than the bigger guys who kind of like throwing people around and lugging them around. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Well, I think it's interesting. There's actually a podcast that I listen to a lot. I started listening to it when I got hurt. I was actually out for it was about
Is it mental
6
models?
weeks. Yeah, BJJ Mental Model. So quick shout out to Stephen Matt Kwan, BJJ Mental Models. It's funny that I'm giving them a shout out because they're a way bigger podcast than I ever will be. Like they got all the big names on that one. But they do some really cool stuff. One of the things they talk a lot about is that beginner's mindset. And having that beginner's mindset in every stage of the game and really in life, right? And it's exactly what you just described, Drew. It's thinking about, I'm not here to show what I know. I'm here to learn stuff because I don't know anything. I'm brand new. And I'll tell you that I've found that to be much more challenging recently. I think in the past, I'm going to say 6 months or so, I feel like the stuff that we're going through in class, I've been there, I've done it, and I have to really, really focus on what's different. Right? What are the small details that I haven't picked up yet? We're doing a lot of back attacks and back escapes right now. We've done back escapes forever, and we learned it from Chad Hardy, who's probably one of the best in our area at back attacks and back escapes. So I've learned a lot of the stuff that we're going over. But what I'm constantly reminding myself of is there's all these details, all these little tiny things that I can pick up, and it's hard because nobody talks about them. And that's the transition I've had to make. Is before when I learned something, I didn't know anything about it. So if somebody showed it to me, the whole thing was brand new. But they're telling you all the important pieces, right? The big pieces. They're pointing out those big pieces. And when you get more into the minute details, or not even minute, but the details, right? So minute's probably in 5 years from now. But the more details, nobody's showing you the details. You've got to pick up on those. Yeah. What's that?
Anytime you're escaping the back, you got to be escaping anything. You just got to be heavy water.
Well, and the heaviness is easy, right? Because I'm big. So heavy's easy. It's I'll give you an example. The other day we were talking about coming out of the back, and we're going from the dark side. And when you get down, obviously the first thing your opponent's going to do is gut them out. Like that's a transition for them to gut them out, right? Well, one of those details is exactly where to put your elbow, and then pushing off the knee makes it way more challenging for that person to come up and to mount. And that's just something I never learned before. And the coach didn't necessarily call that out. I had to kind of pick up on it and then ask questions, right? So I can tell you that after 3 years of doing this, the beginner's mindset, I think, gets a lot harder. And coming in with that expectation to learn, just be there to learn. Because again, nobody's feeding you that information. You have to go get that information. And I have to imagine, and I only can, that the higher up you get, the more knowledge you have behind you, the harder that gets.
Yeah. Oh, well, and even teaching it. So, I mean, I'm a 2-stripe purple belt, and I teach, fundamentals, and I'll cover the advanced classes when needed. But, I mean, there's so many small details, too. And it's one of those things where you want to go over a lot of them, but you can't, because especially for the lower belts, like the white belts and newer to mid-tier blue belts, they can't comprehend all the steps.
Well, and how are you going to teach a class when you've got a purple belt, a white belt, a brown belt?
Yeah.
You got all these different kind of levels you've got to teach to one consistent.
I know. And don't get me wrong, you want to show the details, but you don't want to do it to where it overloads. And that's a point, I think, coaches, like if you are a true teacher, kind of how we've talked about before, you know how much is enough and how much is too much.
Yeah.
Or
I think that's the I'm gonna call it glory, but that's one of the really huge benefits of being a white belt.
Yeah.
Is that you've got the whole world is your oyster, right? Like everything is brand new, and you're like, oh my god, it's mind blowing, and you
so
lose
that. And don't get me wrong, like the even smaller details, if I'm going around, walking around to different groups, and I'm seeing, kind of the more experience, or the more experience, or the higher belted guys, like I'll go to them and I'll be like, hey, here's an extra little step to add to this to make it even easier or even more effective. But I feel like if you're teaching in a whole class setting, you have to find that nice middle ground to where you give enough detail for the upper belts to where it'll be effective for them, but also not enough detail to where it doesn't confuse the white belts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because as a white belt myself, the most important thing is like nowadays it's like, for instance, a triangle. I've done triangles probably, if not every week, right? At least have one lesson on it, just kind of teaching like the strategic. Because again, there are new people coming to the gym every day, so they're learning from ground stage. But like one thing that was taught to me was like, hey, you got to squeeze your leg or squeeze your knees in, like to a certain like angle. And I was like, I never even thought about that ever. And to your point, if he would have told me that when I first was learning it, I'd be like, listen, man, I'm just trying to put my leg up here. I don't even know how. Like,
I didn't see my hips to get the damn thing there.
I'm just like, listen, like, don't tell me this right now. Like, there's too many parts that I don't know that you're telling me this little part that I need to know. But even things like that, I think that it's, to your point, having a good teacher is to have the fundamentals down packed. Also, understanding how your students learn, and that's just like not just teaching jiu-jitsu. That's just teaching in general. Because I think we all have kids. The best thing to learn is how does your kid learn? Because some kids are very visual. Some kids need hands-on, and some are very like, okay, just leave it with me. I'm going to take it in. I'll come back with you you later.
Well, and another thing, like teaching kids, if you have an opportunity to help teach the kids class at any jiu-jitsu school, whether it's a day or you're filling in, do it. It is a lot. I will say it is a handful, but just explaining and being able to go over the small details with them, because you got to think, if you can explain it to a kid,
you got to break it down to the most infantile.
Exactly. But if you can break it down to a kid, you understand the most important steps and the key details that they need to understand in order to jump to that next level in, the kids bracket or the kids division, whether it's, beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert, whatever it is. Just teaching and getting that experience.
Breaking that down and then break it down in your own head, right? And that helps you kind of break down those pieces. So I'm curious, so you started in, and again, I screwed these up, but is it North Carolina?
Yep.
So you started so are you still in North Carolina?
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm. And so did you pick like a big school, or is it a smaller school? Is it affiliate, big affiliate?
You know what? I really don't know what would be considered a big school or medium school. It's Gracie Barra. I don't know. Yeah. So
that's a big affiliate.
Yeah,
that's a real big affiliate.
I mean, yeah, that's a big one. But those schools,
it's like that's a big one.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest ones. But that's a great school. I mean, it's very just traditional, which is good because I think
within Gracie Baja they have so many variations because they have so many schools.
Yeah,
that you've got some. So are you guys focused more on gi or no gi?
So it's a combination of all of it, actually. I feel like because we have no gi classes, we have gi classes. I'm trying to look and make sure I'm not lying about the Gracie Baja thing. I had to. I totally screwed that. Gracie, Pedro Sauer.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Pedro Sauer. Yeah. Sorry.
Still, like that's a good.
Yeah, same, but different
affiliate. I think
there goes a stripe.
It went off in the wash.
I definitely think there is benefits to training both.
I really like the fact though that you didn't necessarily know who the affiliate was, like your coaches and your team, and I think
I really don't. And the funny thing about it, when people, I'm like, this is probably being very dramatic. I really love these people. Like I really enjoy being with them. Even definitely the younger people that have been doing it since they were 5. Like they've taught me so many things. Like for instance, I went to my first no-gi class on Thursday. And I've always been just ski training because that's just how my schedule permits.
Yeah.
And just learning slight intricacies between okay, now if I'm going for a Ezekiel choke, I really don't have the same, or darts. I don't have the same flexibility or same connection I can have with a gi. I have to now have to learn with my arms and movements like that. I just literally took that transition and moved it onto my Friday class, and I can see like the change in movement momentum. So I love having both, and I love just enjoying the people that are there and just laughing with them, joking with them, talking with them, really getting the expertise. Because again, like I don't know a damn thing. I'm just here to learn. So I'm just like, hey, I'm just here to learn. If I like the newer people in the class, like I'm like, hey, if you they come to me and they're like, hey, can you help me with this? I'm like, oh my god, I'm so honored. Like like I've been doing it for 6 months. I'm like, okay, you could just do this one thing. This is how they taught me, and if it can help them like level up faster than I did, I think that's what this whole thing is. It's just reach one, teach one, and
Yeah.
Well, and that's a big part of it. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, Vic and I, we've been
passing down the knowledge,
Mhm.
and you know, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, this is cool, but once you're in it for a while, like for me, I started out in the kids class. I was one of the kids getting taught in the kids class to transitioning like a few months later into the adults, and now I'm the head kids coach. Like,
Yeah.
so
Wow.
everything that I learned as a kid, I'm passing on to the new generation. And because I was in the kids class, I know what the kids struggled with. I know what the main focuses should be. So all the things that my coach showed me that I felt didn't necessarily help me then, I just don't add. And then I take the key things that he taught me into the kids class. And then it's crazy. And then with each generation, it's just going to keep changing
Mhm.
and evolving.
Well, I think a lot of times, and you hear white belts shouldn't teach other white belts. And while there's validity to that, because I think we've all
100%.
been a
Yeah.
victim of a white belt trying to tell you how to do something, and you're like, I just heard the coach tell me to do exactly the opposite, right? Because as a white belt, you don't know a whole lot.
Yeah.
There's no-
100%. So I never like, hey, you should do this different. If somebody asks me, I give them my 2 cents, but I always say at the end, you should ask ask
Well,
them.
And I will
That's
say,
right.
if they're a lower belt or lower rank, I'll usually at least give the insight that I have, and then follow it up with, "We should ask James. We should ask
Yeah.
James. Let's ask him."
yeah.
But if they're higher, I'm like, I don't. If you don't know, I don't know. Like, we
What's
need
happening?
him. Let's go get that person.
But it's one of those things where
Hang on 1 second, guys. My dogs are going nuts. Give me just 1 second.
okay, cool. I'm going bathroom break.
Okay.
This was perfect timing.
And are you guys in Cincinnati right now?
We're in Northern Kentucky, so yeah, pretty much Cincinnati.
Okay. How far is that from Columbus?
Hour
Like 2 hours?
and 20, hour and 30.
Yeah, I might have to peel over there. I'm coming up to get my daughter in Columbus, Ohio,
Heck yeah.
for her birthday. So I might just peel over there. I know you guys do open mat like 5:30 or something like that. So
When are you coming out?
June the 14th.
Oh heck yeah, man! Look us up for sure.
Yeah, get here.
So I think we're probably an hour and a half from Columbus.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Just
don't even
about.
think that.
Yeah.
Maybe just shy.
Yeah, dude,
We're like 10 miles south of Cincinnati.
okay, cool. I'll peel over there. Yeah, June 14th, because her soccer game is the 16th. So I'll be up there the 14th to the 17th.
Oh yeah, man.
Awesome. Let me see. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna figure out where we were at.
Okay, I don't even remember.
Are you recording on your
I might die. Yeah, I'm gonna go back that real quick.
the 16th. So I'll be up there the 14th to
Hell
the
yeah.
the 14th.
Oh heck yeah, man! Look us up for sure.
Yeah, get here.
So I think we're probably what, an hour and a half. Stop. You're probably right about here.
Here to learn. So I'm just like, hey, I'm just here to learn. If it can help them like level up faster than I did, I think that's what this whole thing is. It's just reach one, teach one.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a big part of it, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, Vic and I, we've been
passing down the knowledge, and you know, it's I just don't add, and then I take the key things that he taught me into the kids class, and then it's crazy. And then with each generation, it's just going to keep changing and evolving.
My 2 cents, but I always say at the end, you should ask.
Yeah,
ask him.
And I will say, if they're a lower belt or lower rank, I'll usually at least give the insight that I have, and then follow it up with, we should ask James, we should ask Vic, we should ask Kevin.
But
if they're higher, I'm like, I don't. If you don't know, I don't know. Like, we need him. Let's go get that person.
But it's one of those things where I
hang on 1 second, guys. My dogs are going nuts. Give me just 1 second.
Okay, I know what I was talking about.
You know where you're going with that?
Yeah.
All right. Ready to go.
All right. And it's one of those things where I enjoy getting the white belts to try to explain things. And not the brand new white belts, but if they've been a white belt for a while and I see them helping a group, I kind of like to see where they go with it. I like to see their explanation.
No, you like to see how we fuck it up, and then you go exploit the hell out of that. That's what you like to see. Yeah.
Well,
he's like, hey, make sure your hand is here, and you extend that arm all the way out because I want that arm bar.
Yeah, I do like my arm bars. But yeah, no, I think it is important for a white belt, once you're in it for a little bit, to try to explain it. And it shouldn't be an everyday thing, because again, your coaches are there for a reason. But if you're in a 3-man group and it's all white belts and the 2 white belts doing it forgot what to do.
Well, but even beyond that, like, I think where I was going with it is that even though you don't want a white belt necessarily teaching something, I think you can learn from anybody, and you can learn from anywhere, right? So even if it's how badly they do it, how badly I've done it, right? People have hopefully learned that, oh, when they do that stupid thing that white belt just did, I can exploit it here. Or I remember distinctly one time I was with Jordan and he wanted us to do something, and I was fat and out of shape and couldn't do anything.
That's fair.
Not flexible at all. And he's like, just put your leg here. And I'm like, my leg doesn't just go there. I gotta manually like make that shit happen. So I did something with my other foot where I was like basically using one foot to push the other foot into position. He's like, huh, that works. Like, those are the things that even as a white belt, you can learn things from that. And I think, that there's value everywhere. Doesn't matter where it comes from. There's value at every level, and everybody can teach something somebody else. And I know one thing, Vic outranks me. He outpaces me. He's younger than I am. He's more athletic than I am. He's got funny arms.
I do.
You're showing off. But I mean, this guy has been trying to triangle me for 3 years unsuccessfully. The vast majority.
No. I got a mounted.
I said the vast majority.
Yeah, I got a mounted one.
I said the vast majority. You got one mounted triangle out of 1,000 attempts.
But I'm not gonna lie. That's the only way I'm gonna.
But what it does, though, is it forces him to get better, and then I learn the defense to whatever he did, and then it forces me to get better. So I'm a different arena than where Vic's at, but we can still push each other, and we can still make each other better by giving up those things and thinking about.
And it's always good to have like your favorite partner too, like one of your favorite like training partners. Like, and I have a training partner. I don't know if he likes me at all, but I love training with him because it's like he outranks me. He's been doing it for a while longer than me, but we still we go at it. Like we go at it, and it's not like he's trying to break me, but he is trying to push me. So every time it's like, hey, don't put your arms there. I'm gonna get that arm. He that's after the 3rd roll. But the first 2 rolls, he's not telling me nothing. He's just destroying me. Like, he's like, okay, I'm having what you gonna do now? Like, what you gonna do now?
We gotta get Josh at the gym, who is going to do his first tournament, and he is. I want to say he's 37, 38, something. He's like late 30s.
Yep.
And he's doing his very first tournament. And he's, white belt, super nervous about it. He's good, but he's super nervous. He's watching all the videos, YouTubing, like white belt videos. Same shit I did. So on Thursday last week, I was like, all right, Josh, you and I, we're doing tournament style. He'd never been in any kind of tournament, never been in any kind of wrestling environment, anything like that. I said, all right, we're going to turn it up. I said, this is going to be intense. Like I'm going to make your lungs are going to burn. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you're just going to tap me a whole bunch. I said, no, I'm going to catch and release. Like, I'm going to get everything, and I'm going to get to the point where I've got it, and I'm going to let go of it. And I'm going to transition to the next thing. And we did. And we went 7 minutes. And I think that's those points where, like, when you're getting ready for a tournament, you have to have those partners that you can go just right next to tournament level.
Well, and I think when you are, starting and even trying to move up the ranks in jiu-jitsu, you need two types of partners. You need that partner that you can look for, who's more experienced, that you can look towards for advice, and you need that partner who's around your same level. And when you guys roll, it's just a dogfight.
Well, I would say you even need, hopefully you have somebody who's not as good as you are, not as far along in their journey as you are also, so that you can try out the stuff that you're never going to hit the higher.
Well, and you look at it, I mean, okay, so my person, like Kevin, he's taught me a lot, and just he's, every time we roll, if I mess something up, he's right there. He's ready to explain it. Sebastian, me and him, I started before him, but granted, I was in the kids class, but you've seen me and him roll. It's a dog fight.
It is. He's a wrestler.
Yeah,
he's really
exactly.
Good
it's the same, like, we just have close to the same style, just dogfight the whole time. And then, there's Logan, Mike, Aaron, like the guys I train from being white belts to blue belts. And anytime I roll with them, I'll show them what they could, improve upon next time. And like having those type of,
and I'll tell you, that's hard at a white belt level and even a blue belt level, because there's not a lot of people that I'm going to say that you're better than, right? So I'm not going to say that a whole bunch of people are worse than you, but I don't think there's a whole lot of people that you're better than. I think where you are typically better at that level is going to be athleticism, age, other martial art experiences, things like that. Instead of jiu-jitsu, when you get to higher end of the blue belt, so third, fourth stripe on the blue belt into purple belt and beyond, that's when you really have that delineation. But really, even until your second stripe of blue belt, you're still just six stripe white belt. Like, you're just still figuring a whole mess of stuff out.
The way I like to explain the blue belt is you're the best of the worst. Yep. Like at a blue belt, you're still a beginner.
It's like high school. It's the junior, the freshmen and sophomores, and then the juniors and seniors.
Mm-hmm.
It's that freshman sophomore year, you're just a shithead. Like, you haven't figured anything out. You don't know where you're going. You know how to get to class. You don't know you can't even remember your damn locker combination half the time. And then you got seniors that own the place.
Guys had lockers.
Oh yeah, yeah, we had lockers. It was awesome. I didn't go very often, but yeah,
that's awesome. The only time I saw lockers were in Degrassi.
Awesome. So I am curious, what are some things that you've learned in jiu-jitsu that you've let kind of transform the rest of your life?
Well, man, so one thing is you have two ears and one mouth. Use them accordingly. That's been kind of like my big thing. Just kind of use the things between those two ears to do the actions that you needed to do. And I think I've become, not just from jiu-jitsu, but also from the podcast, just become a better active listener. So instead of when the fiance, she's like blabbering about something. She can't hear me, but she's blabbering about something. But I'm usually like very like, okay, let me take that in, and then I take it in, and then I move on that question or that answer, or maybe that action that she's asking me to do. Also, another thing is like breathing, how important that is. I'm a big yoga person, and I was deep into yoga, and then I kind of stopped. But really getting back to like, okay, take a deep breath, relax. I remember and this is like akin to why I really take that on in life, is because my coach, Bill, he again, he's a smaller guy, very like, he's been doing it for 15 years or so. So he's like this shit in my eyes. But we was rolling for the first time. This is when I was probably maybe 2 weeks in, and he was just like, he said, stop pushing me off. Use technique, because I'm just trying to like muscle him up. I'm just like he's like okay, and like a boa constrictor, just like every time I move, it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. He's like, now you're winded out. Yeah. And he was like, don't take it, don't try to muscle it. Use technique, use your ideas, think about what you're doing before you're doing. If you're gripping something, make it have a reason. If you're, moving around and doing something, make it have a reason. And I just took that into life. Is like, okay, does this have a purpose, right? Is what I'm doing have a purpose? Is what I'm clinging on to, even not from a jiu-jitsu, from a holding a gi part, but to life? Am I holding on? What I'm holding to, is it have a long-term purpose of what I'm doing? So it's really changed. And then just kind of the athleticism in that beginner mindset, because I'm fairly athletic, been doing sports since I was like 4 or 5 years old, ran college track, was doing basketball, football, all that stuff. And just like how it kind of humbled me to be a beginner again, and how now my mentality is let's be a beginner, have a beginner mindset in everything I do. So like when I'm trying to learn Salesforce, or when I'm trying to learn a new technology, or when I'm trying to
awful. Unless you're trying to sponsor us, Salesforce, and if you're trying to sponsor us,
You're
the
great.
best thing ever. But I highly doubt you are, so you suck. All right.
It's a good CRM. I'm trying to get an admin, trying to get an admin certification in, buddy. But anyway,
it's a corporate tool that gets used for documentation and stuff. So I have to use it sometimes. Had to use it. I don't anymore, thank God. But yeah,
see, that you're just tapping into the functionality that it has. But anyway, we're just gonna move past that, because we're going to have a tech. This is not tech talk, but no. But just having that beginner's mindset on a lot of things that I've been doing has been super beneficial to me, and it's all because I just started these classes. And really the camaraderie that I've been having with the people. Again, I love these people. Like legitimately, like enjoy their presence. Like if I don't have jiu-jitsu like a week, my mood changes. And it used to be working out, but it's like now it's like if I don't have this thing that's just literally me rolling around with another man, which is odd when you just think about it, and learning these self-defense and kind of techniques. If I don't have it in my life, you can see my mood change. Yeah. And that's
it's
where
a drug.
It's hard. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the endorphins or the dopamine or what it is that releases when you do jiu-jitsu specifically. Like I do stand up too. I do striking. I do kickboxing, Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. And you feel the same physical exhaustion. I think running is for me. Running is because like 3 miles and I'm wasted. But I think any sport you're gonna feel that physical exhaustion. But there's something about jiu-jitsu and the mental aspect along with the physical aspect that just releases so many. Whatever it is like a drug. And if I don't do it today, so big shout out to Bluegrass Women's BJJ.
Yep.
They have a tournament. They have a seminar.
Women's only seminar for women's jiu-jitsu in the northern Kentucky area. I think, well, really just
Tri-state area. I think they're all through. Yeah. So then that's going on today. So my wife and both my daughters are at that right now. And I got to tell you, I'm so jealous because I just want to go roll. And I couldn't roll yesterday because I had some personal stuff I had to do. So it's been like 3 days. Dude, we don't roll on Friday.
I know, it sucks.
I did kickboxing on Friday, but I didn't do jiu-jitsu on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And I'm like jonesing. Like I need that fit. And tomorrow I'm supposed to do Muay Thai. Yeah, I start itching. So like tomorrow's Muay Thai Monday, so I'll probably do Muay Thai. But man, I got to get my jits in.
Yeah, dude, it's hard. I think it's one of those things, especially you get just so used to drilling and then sticking around doing the positional and then straight into 5-minute rounds. And I think another thing, you look at Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, you can't go 100% without getting hurt. But with jiu-jitsu, I mean, if you're if you know what you're doing, your experience, you and another person can go full blast and no one can get hurt. Well, sometimes it depends on who it is. I mean, but I've definitely rolled with people near 100% and even at 100% where I feel perfectly fine at the end.
Well, I think your point you're making earlier, it depends on who that partner is, right? Yeah. If you got somebody who is at your level, you both going 100%, absolutely. But I think that's the cool thing about it is that you have the ability to have partners that can match your intensity, match your level. I think you do this really well, Vic, is you can match whatever intensity the person's at. In fact, I was talking to Logan the other day about this, and he's like, yeah, man, me and Vic are going 100%, and it's awesome. And he stops and he thinks, he's like, well, I'm going 100%. Vic's definitely matching me at where I'm at. And I think, but to your point, like you have the ability to find the right partner to go at the level you want to go at that minute. The other night, I was just having a horrible week, and it was a rough week. Just a bunch of nonsense. Like it was, and nothing consequence, right? Just obnoxiousness that had my head all messed up. And it was Thursday night, and I'm like, I just need to get some anger out. Like, we need to go.
Yeah.
And I picked a couple people, and we just went, and I
Well,
felt so much better when we were
Honestly,
done.
sometimes, life is stressful. I mean, sometimes you just want to bang, and like you want those hard rounds. You want to be pushed to the point where you're on the brink of passing out.
And I will tell you that the other night we went that hard in kickboxing, and that sucked.
Yeah.
Like a couple of days, I'm like, fuck this.
Because all that torque you're using from your hips and your knees and your ankles and your
somebody lands something clean, and it's like, this is fucked up, man. I gotta go to work tomorrow. I gotta be presentable tomorrow morning.
Okay, my ribs or that one liver shot that takes you out. Like, ooh boy,
I'd rather get hit in the groin than get hit in the liver. That liver's nasty.
Well, just with the rolling, like me and my sister Bella, dude, we like that we like that grit. Just like we like that point to where we feel exhausted, where we feel like if we go one more minute, we're gonna throw up. We like to be pushed there, and I think that's why so many people, if they have to go a little bit without rolling, especially when you're in it.
Well, where else can you do that? Like, where else in life can you go? Can you bring yourself to that point without looking like a complete lunatic?
Yeah.
I mean, CrossFit might be, and that's probably why CrossFit's
track and field. That's the only thing I could say. Like, if you want to run a track.
I get in my own head when I run. And again, I don't run long distances because I'm fat. But when I run, like, I just start thinking about all this stuff. It's driving me crazy. And then I just get more like anxious about all the shit in my head.
When I run, man, when I start to get to a point, I just say, man, I'm strong and pretty. and I just keep going.
I feel like Vic says that to himself every day, all day.
That's so the thing I always say, like, if I go for a long run, like maybe over 3 miles, is like, I'm here now. Like, are you guys familiar with David Goggins?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he gave this one story of him like doing with his platoon or something like that, running like 3 miles or 5 miles with his drill sergeant. And his drill sergeant saying, okay, we're going to run 5 miles, and everybody being happy. Like, we're about to hit 5 miles. We just passed this lake, and and then his drill sergeant's just like, well, we're going to run another mile after. And he said, he looked at everybody in that platoon, and he was looking at how their faces drowned because of, they had to go this extra mile. He was talking about like, no, I love that shit. Like, it makes me go hard. Like, it makes me like get up. It makes me really get energized. And that's the moment where I'm like, okay, if I'm starting off a jog, because my knees are trash from running track, so they're trashy. And I have knee replacements and all that stuff. But when I hit the concrete and start running, I'm like, I'm here now. We're here for, it's just 3 miles. That's it. And then I would say for the 100% part, if you ever want to just go 100%, get the anger out, just literally get on a track or on a road, straight road, and just run 100-mile sprints until you throw up. And that's you can go 100%, and it doesn't have
like a half of 100-mile sprint. Is that kind of what
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of running at all. But there's something to where when you get to that point of exhaustion, I can't.
Exhaustion,
yeah. Okay, I just funny, but I love it because it hurts me to continue, but I know like you got to conquer your inner bitch.
Yes, I'm totally good. Getting punched in the face.
That's what I mean.
Like feel that feeling, getting past that, getting punched in the nose, and your eyes start watering. You're like, no, fuck this. I can still. I got this.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
I'm good, but running, I'm like, nah, fuck it. Ain't nothing chasing me. Like, I don't need.
You haven't conquered your inner bitch yet. You just got to push.
In every other sport I have, other than running, I can't. It just it frustrates me.
You got to find that weakness and choke it out. I mean, now you have the expertise to choke it out or knee it or kick it in the liver. So just find a way to kick it in the liver.
I think that's what it is for every other, like when I do any kind of combat sports, like I have an answer. I can kick that inside leg and make you stop hitting me for just long enough that I can return something. Or in jiu-jitsu, even if you got my arm, you got me in a Kimura, you got me in a bad spot, I know there's a way out of this. When you run, the only way out is to run back. Like there's no escape from that run. And
that's so true. That's so true though.
I don't like it. So one last question we ask pretty much everybody comes on the podcast. I love this one. To that brand new person who's thinking about getting into, maybe they listen to JRE, maybe they have a friend who trained and they want to go, but they're a little intimidated. They're not quite sure how to start. What would your advice be to them?
See, this is a good question.
It's a great
Yeah,
question. That's
like,
what we ask.
everybody just
Yeah, I would say become a student of the craft first. And when I say that, if you have to, I think you talked about it a couple times on your other episodes. It's like even if you're going to be the YouTube, YouTube warrior and just kind of learn stuff from YouTube or look at YouTube for different things, learn like the basics, understand kind of the fundamentals, understand what jujitsu is. Because some people like, oh, I'm gonna do a crane kick like you were saying, or I'm gonna do like, oh, it's not that. It's not wrestling either. So really become a student of the craft and really enjoy it and really learn about it, like the fundamentals, who the big names are. Watch a couple of UFC fights, understand the Gracie story a little bit. Watch Choke on YouTube or something like that, and just kind of enthrall yourself into it, and then find a place that you want to call home. And remember, if that place is not for you, you don't have to stay there. There are, if unless that's the only gym that's close to your house or something like that, but you don't have to stay there. There are going to be other opportunities for you. So go there, do the trial, and don't be intimidated to leave. I think
Yeah,
that's important too.
yeah, that's
That's
a
a
big
huge
thing.
one.
That's a big thing I've noticed with people. People will go to a gym and have just get a bad taste in their mouth. Like Mike Sheffield, for example.
Yeah.
I love Mike. He went to I
Different
forgot.
gym.
Yeah, a different gym before ours, and he was like, "Yeah, it sucked. It was an MMA gym. They just were MMA fighters, and they just beat us up. Like I didn't learn anything."
Well, I think different gyms bring different pieces, right? Like, so we
Yeah.
had Dirk on the show not too long ago, and he talks about his gym that he started down in Georgia, and he said, "This is what we do: we fight,
Yeah,
we curse, we fight, we beat the ever living shit out of each other." And if you are a hobbyist who just kind of wants to learn the sport, this is not the gym
Yeah.
for you. There's 4 other gyms in the area that would be great for what you're trying to do. In fact, let me introduce you to them. And I love that mindset. As a gym owner, not only is he trying to just get customers, he's trying to find the right people to be in his gym, to give the other people in his gym that are all after the same goal of that fight mentality, to all have that experience and have the right training partners in that room. Because if you're trying to fight, if you're trying to actually be an MMA fighter and you walk into a hobbyist gym, you're not going to get pushed. You're not going to get pushed to that point you need to.
not everybody's cut from the same cloth.
No, and not everybody wants to be a
Exactly.
fighter.
Like, and that's the nice thing about jiu-jitsu and combat sports in general. You have the two sides. You have, the very energetic, high-level athletic young guys that want to fight, that want to do this. Even the older guys too that are, like Paul. Paul, how old's Paul?
42.
42, and he still wants to go out there and fight. So you have those, and then you have the hobbyist. I mean, and that's the nice thing.
You got guys like me that straddle the line. I like to show the young kids that I might be old and might be fat, but I can still whoop up on you.
Yeah,
and it's fun. So no, I think that's great advice. I think finding the right gym and being in the right environment to match your goals, what you're trying to do, and the personalities you like to be around, because it is a lot. It's a lot of trust, a lot of respect when you're getting choked by somebody, you're manipulated.
Exactly. I mean, and trust is the biggest thing. Jiu-jitsu, it can be a very safe sport, but it can also be a very dangerous one. For example, I mean, we've had guys who came into the gym before looking to break each other's arms.
Do you remember that? There was one guy, he was probably 350, 6'2", 6'3", pretty much solid muscle. He was a wrestler, and he just picked somebody up and he legit body slammed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a big boy. It was a trial, and I walked up to him. I said, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And he's looking at me, he's like, what do you mean? So I kind of had a conversation with him, but it was funny because here I am, comparatively a small, older guy. Like, if he wanted to fuck me up, like, there was nothing I was doing to stop that. Like, it doesn't matter. I could have all the experience in the world. Like, that dude was just big. Like, I've played with NFL players.
Yeah.
We had an NFL guy that trained at our gym, and I would specifically ask him to come down and prep me for seminars and stuff, or for tournaments and stuff. So I know what that strength means against technique. And this dude, he just could have housed me. But I felt completely comfortable walking up to him and being like, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
You can't do that. I also knew that I had a whole gym full of people.
Is that just in case? Just in case. Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah.
Think about a robber running, like, I'm about to rob a this store, and it happens to be like a jiu-jitsu gym, and you're like,
I've seen that. That was on YouTube.
Wrong place.
I saw that video. He somebody tried to rob a gym and they found out it was like jiu-jitsu downstairs and striking and everything. Like all these. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that
It's like,
was a good video.
Whoopsie, made a mistake there. That's pretty brazen. So Drew, I think we're just about the top of the hour, man. This has been a ton of fun. This has been a blast. Thanks for hounding me, and my apologies for having to have you hound me. But super glad we were able to put this together and get this done.
We need an extra day in the week, I think.
Yeah.
We've been quite busy, but we appreciate you.
And now my dog is saying goodbye. Also, that's what that noise is.
Shout out to the dog.
Lizzie loves to talk to everybody. And then Sam's going to come join. So I have 2 dogs, and doing a podcast with 2 dogs and nobody home to corral them is always fun. But Drew, real quick before we go out, you've got what's that?
I said I had the screaming babies. Same thing.
Yeah, those
same but different.
That is definitely a part of my life I do not miss and don't ever want back. They're great, but they're so much better when they're
when they can talk.
Yeah. So Drew, real quick, if you want to just plug your spaces, so your podcast, your website.
Okay. Thank you again for having me. Again, pandas are my favorite animal, and Jiu-Jitsu has changed my life. So just being on here is just amazing, combining the 2 things that I love. But if you want to listen to the podcast, you go to drewversustheworld.com or follow me on Instagram at Drew versus the World Podcast. And then you can listen to a new episode every Monday on anywhere you listen to this right now.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, Drew, thanks for stopping and talking with us today. Been a ton of fun. And for everybody else, guys, keep listening, stay safe, keep training.
Peace out.
Just stop the dog real quick. I think I'm going to try and end the broadcast, Drew. I don't know if it's going to disconnect.
Yeah, if you end the broadcast, it's going to disconnect us.
Okay, then I won't end it. I'll just leave it open for a second.
I think you can end a live. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, leave studio?
Stop recording.
So I don't have stop recording. I have just end broadcast where recording was currently.
Yeah, you can click that then. You must have changed the